Welcome back to Faith Filled Growing. I'm so glad you're here. This episode is a continuation of me cleaning out my freezer. I'm going to be processing some tomatoes that were left over from the just latest harvest, tomatoes that I just had not gotten to yet to process. I had just washed them and stuck them in the freezer. So you're going to be able to see what I do with those. I'm going to end up making two different things out of the tomatoes. It wasn't a huge harvest. It was just the last little bits that I had gotten off of the plant before I pulled the plants up to redo the beds. So anyway, thank you again for joining me. I appreciate it. And if you wouldn't mind, if you'd like and subscribe and maybe share with somebody else, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, let's just jump right in. So what we're doing now is I've got tomatoes that came out of my garden last season that I need to get out of the freezer. So basically, as the tomatoes would be harvested, I would either just, if I didn't have enough time to deal with it, I would just wash them and throw the whole tomato in a bag. Or what I would prefer to do, but as you can see, did not get done as often, I would prefer to go ahead and cut them in half. It doesn't matter which way you do it. You can do it either way. But what we're going to do is we're going to roast these tomatoes. And then after they're roasted, the peels will just peel right off. We'll take the peels and separate those. And I will end up dehydrating those. And I'll make basically a tomato powder. But for now, I'm just going to, any of these that are cut in half, I'm going to put them face down on the cookie sheet. And the ones that are whole, I may have to turn those at some point during the roasting process. But basically, I'm just going to roast these first. Then I'm going to turn them into either a pasta sauce, a tomato sauce, paste tomato, like tomato paste. I'll decide once I get them all roasted. But I always like to roast my tomatoes first. And one, it gives it a really nice flavor. Two, it makes the tomato peels. Well, let me back up and say these tomato peels, as the benefit to freezing them first, the tomato peels, if I was to just let these thaw out, the peels would just peel right off. So I don't have to roast them to get the tomato peels off easily, but I like the flavor of tomatoes that have been roasted. So that's why I'm roasting them, regardless that I'm not doing it just to be able to peel the peels off easily. But what I do like is I like the tomato powder that's been roasted also, to where it has a little browning on the tomato skin itself. Anyhow, these are all just tomatoes that I did not process at the end of last season. And so I'm making room in the freezer. And so I'm going to start processing those now. And I'm just going to stick these in the oven and get them started roasting. I may put a little bit of olive oil on them, and I may do that. And a little salt and pepper. Let's do that real quick. It's not necessary to do this. It's just an added thing if you want to just like increase the flavor a little. If I wanted, I could put some other flavorings on here as well, like some basil or oregano or something like that. But I don't think I want to do that because I want to have the skins to be tomato paste, tomato powder. So I'll probably just leave it with, I'm not going to put any pepper on it either. I'm just going to leave it as that, and I'm going to stick them in the oven. Okay, this is the tomatoes. You can see that the peels just come right off. And while they're hot, I think I'll go ahead and try to take off the peels because they slip right off when they're hot. And will take a little bit of time. I did not realize that you could not see what I was doing here. So what I did was, this is all my tomatoes that I have. I peeled off the peels from all the tomatoes, and I'm going to put this in a pot and cook it down and reduce it and make either a tomato sauce or a tomato paste. Oh, here's one I missed. Yeah. I think I've got, oh, no, oh, there's a peel right there. There, I think that is all the peels off of here. So I'm just going to put all of this in a pot on the stove. And I don't have that many seeds in it, so I'm not going to worry about the seeds. I could make a tomato sauce and get all the seeds out by putting it through a food mill. Or I could put it in my Vitamix and blend it. I could do that. Actually, I could take all this juice and all this sauce, put it in my Vitamix, blend it, and make a tomato sauce out of it. I might do that. That's a good idea. Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna which, if I would have realized I was going to do this, I could have left the peels in here also, but I really want to make tomato powder out of my peels because it makes a delicious powder. Originally said that I was going to dehydrate these, but I decided I am going to test freeze drying them. I have not freeze dried them before. I do know that when I freeze dry them, they will crumble into a powder very easily because that's what everything does when you freeze dry it. So I thought, the one benefit to when you freeze dry things versus dehydrate is you retain all the, more of the nutrients. However, I have already baked these, so it really wouldn't make that much of a difference as far as that's concerned because I've already baked them. It's not like I've got raw tomato skins. But I think since I have the freeze dryer going, this would make a perfect opportunity for me to just maybe put these in the freeze dryer after what I have had is finished. I think that's it. Let me put the lids on. And then what I will do is I will put these in the freezer to hold until what I have going in there is finished. We're going to turn the freeze dryer off and get our tomato peels out of the freeze dryer. Okay, and so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to release the pressure. That's releasing the vacuum so that I can open the door. And basically, I just want to look and see if they are dry. And they look pretty dry to me. Yeah. So I think these are done. I'm going to get both of them out. And then I don't need to do any more. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it to defrost because here, let me bring you in here real quick. So you can see there's ice inside. So I want it to do a defrost because I'm not going to do any more. If I was going to do another batch of something, I would say no defrost. But since I am not going to do any more batches, I'm going to tell it to defrost. And so the only other thing that I need to do is I need to get a bowl or bucket to go underneath this hose because this is where the defrost is going to melt out to. So let me put you back down over here. A lot of times people will just put like a 5-gallon bucket up underneath it. And I've done that too. I just don't have one readily available right now, so that will work. And then we're just gonna let it defrost, and it's got keep the drain valve open, remove the product from the dryer. I've got that, and then it says close the door. So now I need to press continue. And it says keep the door closed, and it'll tell me when I can open the door back up. And once I open the door back up, I'm going to wipe the thing down inside. There's a couple from when I did the onion peels. There's a couple onion peels that have fallen off to the side. I'll clean those out. So let's put lids on these. Okay. And we'll go inside and then we'll put these in the Vitamix and make them into powder. go get the dehydrated tomato powder that I have, and let's look at the two side by side. So this is dehydrated powder. I process them in the dehydrator. You can see the difference. So this is the dry dehydrated, and this is the freeze-dried. So the freeze-dried is a lot more red color than the dehydrated. Let's taste it. We have the dehydrated and the freeze-dried. You can see the difference in the two. Let's see if we can taste the difference in the two. So this is the dehydrated. Tastes like tomatoes. These definitely taste more fresh. With that being the case, I will, from now on, freeze dry for my tomato powder. The only thing that I see is there might be a tiny bit of moisture left in this. It does feel like, see, it will clump a little bit. I maybe should have turned everything and dried them a little longer, because you can see kind of, I don't know if you can see in here or not, but there's some marks where you can see where the skins were laying, and maybe where the skin was laying the back side because they were on the mat. Maybe the back side didn't get freeze dried enough. But I will just use this sooner than I will use this one. This one I'll know has absolutely no moisture left in it. So I'm not going to be worried about it going bad or clumping. This one I will vacuum pack it, and I will just use this one before I use this one up. I will try this again doing the freeze dry because I like the flavor of this one better than I like of this one. However, I do think I will have to make sure when I lay them out that they're like each skin is flat and not like curled up or something. And then I may have to flip them over to get the back sides and then process a little bit longer. So I think, or maybe I don't flip them over. Maybe I just like move them around on the tray so that they're not stuck to the tray, because they were kind of stuck a little bit. Maybe next time I do that so that I can make sure that there's absolutely no moisture left in the middle. But anyway, I still think it's a win. I think it turned out great. I like the flavor better of the freeze-dried versus the dehydrated, but they both work fabulous. Either way, if you don't have a freeze dryer, I would still dehydrate them. And you don't have to have a dehydrator. If you don't have one, you can use your oven. Just put your oven on like 125, no more than 150 degrees. Put them on a, you want airflow through them. So I wouldn't put them on a solid pan. I would put them on like something that, like a wire rack of some kind, that maybe a mesh rack, so that you can get some airflow through it, so that the bottom
it's not stuck to the pan. So anyway.
Okay, so we're back ready. We blended all of the tomatoes into the blender, and we're going to dump these into this pot, and I decided I wanted to make some tomato paste out of them. So it's just going to cook down for like 2 to 3 hours, maybe. Maybe it'll take a little longer. I'm going to do it on a very low temperature so that they don't burn. And I'll periodically come in here and stir them. But we're just going to reduce this down until it gets a paste consistency. I'm going to add a little salt to them. But other than that, I'm not going to really add anything else. It has some olive oil in it from when we roasted them in the oven. Remember, I put all of the juice that was on that pan. I put everything in the Vitamix when I mixed them up. So all I'm going to do is add a little bit of salt. And then we're just going to cook this down. So I'll check back with you again in a little while. And it turned out beautifully. It is a really nice consistency for a tomato sauce. So we're just going to can this. I'm heating it up right now because I want it warm. And I'm going to get my canner out. It's only going to make 3 pints, but still that's 3 pints. I'm going to go ahead and just do 3 pints. But anyway, I'm warming this up. While it's warming up, I'll get everything else set up, and then we'll be right back, and you can see me how we do the canning process. The only thing I'm waiting on right now is my water to get a little hotter. It's at 156 degrees right now. This is at about 180. My jars are in my oven. They're about 180 degrees also. I've got my tomato sauce. This is what I'm going to put in here. Now, all this is just the tomatoes and a little bit of salt. That's all it is. We just roasted them. You saw me, well, and it's got a little bit of olive oil in there from when we roasted them. And so it had a little salt from when I roasted them. And then I just put a little bit of salt in them when I poured them in here. So we roasted them. Then we processed them in the Vitamix and pureed them. And then we've just put them in the pan. They did sit overnight in the refrigerator. So we just put them in the pan. And I've been sitting here thinking, do I want to do tomato sauce? Do I want to wait and reduce it down enough to make tomato paste? Do I want to make ketchup out of it? There's so many things that you could do. But I decided for this evening, for now, we're just going to can it and make it the tomato sauce like it is. That way, that's one project down and finished, and I can move on to the next. Later, I can take this tomato sauce and I can turn it into ketchup if I want. I can turn it into pasta sauce. I can add it to anything that I want a little tomato flavoring. Because it's just plain tomatoes and I haven't like put a bunch of other seasonings in it, I can do whatever I want with them later. But at least they will be shelf stable and I can put them in my pantry. So let's check this water again. We're getting close. We're at 160 now. And so let me show you what I've got over here. So I'm going to, when we get ready to do this, I'm going to set my jar here. I'm going to put my funnel on top and then I will ladle into the jar. I have citric acid and I'm going to put, since I'm doing pint jars, it's a quarter teaspoon of citric acid that you have to add to make sure your acidity level is right with the tomatoes. And then I have a little bit of white vinegar. And this white vinegar is basically just so that I can dab it on my towel, my paper towel, and then I'm going to wipe the rims before I put the lids on. I don't know if you can see this pot or not, but I have my lids in this pot here. And it's just warm water. You don't want to boil them. You just want them to be warm. That's it. So they're not cold. And so this is what we're going to water bath can in. Okay, we're getting there, 163. So the reason I'm trying to get this temperature up is because we're water bath canning in glass jars. You want to try to keep everything as close as possible to the same temperature so that you don't have a jar break. So that's why I've got my jars in the oven. One that is sterilizing them because they've been in there they have to be in for longer than 10 minutes and it's at 200 degrees. So they've been in there well over 10 minutes. But it's just a minimum of 10 minutes. Some people put them in their dishwasher to do it that way. However, my dishwasher is already running. And so I couldn't put them in there. So they just got washed and stuck in the oven. So they've been in the oven baking. And so that one sterilizes them, but two, it also brings them up to the temperature that you need. So you're not putting something hot in them and in a jar that's not already warm as well. And then this water is going to be the same temperature. So you're moving it into the same temperature. Then once they're in here, then we're going to boil them for 35 minutes. And it'll have to be like a rolling boil for 35 minutes. Then once that's done, you take them out and you set them on the counter and, well, you turn the temperature down, and set them on the counter and let them cool naturally. Okay. So the only thing I didn't show you that I had was a jar lifter. You're going to want one of these too, because the jars get a little bit too hot to handle otherwise. I'm going to take my jar out, put my lid on it. Oh, and I also have this is my debubbler and will also give me the head space because I need to have a 1/2-inch head space. Head space is the free space from the top of the rim to the liquid or product. And hopefully I'll get 3 pints out of this. I'm not sure if I will. If I don't, I'll get what I can. And so now so I need to put a little bit more in there. There we go. That's about right. And then, oh, before I do that, I got to put the citric acid in. See, I almost forgot. Citric acid goes in. Now, there's other things. You can use lemon juice, or you can use citric acid or vinegar. So now I'm going to wipe my rim off, especially because I just wiped that off. So I'm using vinegar because you don't want anything on your rim that's going to possibly interfere with your seal. And then you put your ring on, and it's just finger tight. That's a little warm, that jar. And then we're going to place it in here. All right, now let's get another jar. Okay, we'll see how much I can get in this one. If I don't have a full jar, which it's not looking like I'm going to, then I'll just stick this one in the refrigerator and make sure and do something with it. Either the fridge or the freezer. I could freeze it too. It's not a full jar, so I can't water bath can this one. You can't can not full jar. If I had a smaller jar, I could do that. But I don't have it warmed or anything. I didn't think about that. This one I'm just going to stick in the freezer. I will let it cool to before I put it in there, but I'll just freeze it and then I'll use it for something another time. So that'll just sit there, and I don't have to, since I'm going to freeze it, I don't have to put citric acid in that one. It'll be fine. Okay, so this one I am going to wait until it comes to a full boil and then start timing it. So whenever it's boiling, I'll be back. Okay, so we are boiling. As you can see, it's boiling. So I'm going to start my timer now. Oops, I touched the side of that. That was a little hot. Okay, so I've got my timer set. And so we're going to do this for 35 minutes, making sure it stays on a boil. I'm just going to keep it on the same temperature, and that should be good. The one thing I did not tell you that I did was I put about 2 tablespoons of vinegar in my water, and that kind of helps keep the water from making like hard water stains on your jars and lids. So we're just going to let this boil for 35 minutes and we'll be back when it's done. Okay, so the timer just went off. So we are going to take these out, and I'm just going to set them on a hot pad because they're going to be really hot. And I'm going to turn the water on. And then we're just going to let them sit there and cool off and let them sit for 24 hours. So that's it for this video. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you sticking through all the way to the end if you're still here. If you like this kind of content, it would really help the channel out to continue to grow if you would just like and subscribe, and maybe leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know. I'm interested. Have you grown anything before? Have you ever canned? Are you interested in a freeze dryer? I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thanks so much.